Most amateur retriever handlers train a lot, but you're still failing at hunt tests. And it's not because you're not training enough, it's because you're training the wrong way or the wrong things. In my experience as an amateur retriever trainer for over 30 years, most people who fail hunt tests aren't lazy, careless, or even uncommitted. They're working hard. They're just focusing on things that don't actually matter when test day arrives. Amateurs often believe more training equals better results, but hunt tests don't reward effort, they reward clarity, control, and preparation. And that's where most amateurs fall short. All right, the first topic here is control under excitement. The biggest training gap I see is control, especially when excitement goes way up. Many dogs look great in training, then they go to a hunt test and everything speeds up and falls apart. A dog that can run far but can't stay controlled will fail at tests. Control has to exist before excitement, not after.
Back.
So a classic example of control under excitement is running blinds.
Dead. Here.
If your dog doesn't
Here.
sit at 100 yards on a sit whistle, don't expect him to do that at 125, 130, 150, 200 yards, etc. That's understandable, correct? So you got to get control of the dog at a short distance, and then you slowly try and extend that distance out into the field farther and farther. And there's a lot of drills that can help you with that, but it just basically comes down to basic training. So your training regimen is broken down into basic, intermediate, and advanced. Don't immediately jump right into advanced and expect your dog to do well. You got to work your way through the steps of basic training, then intermediate training, and then advanced training. If you're in the advanced training section and your dog still lacks control, then you got to back up. You got to go back to things where you missed. There's something in your training program that you overlooked or it ran through well and that the dog didn't really bring that into the field. For example, like a double T. When you're running a double T, it's kind of monotonous and boring, for example, but you're stopping the dog at 25 yards, at 50 yards, at 100 yards, giving overs, giving backs, etc. You may need more of that, and maybe more of that in different places. That's a great way of getting control of your dog. And there are a lot of drills, and hopefully we'll go over some of those drills within time on this channel. And we'll come back to this topic because it's a big one for most amateur retriever trainers. But for this video, we're just kind of giving you the highlights of some of the issues that amateurs face. Clarity over complexity. Amateurs tend to train too many concepts at once. They mix their drills, they layer pressure, they assume the dog understands. But dogs don't fail because training is too simple. They fail because it's too confusing. Simplify. Clear, simple training beats complicated drills every single time. Another example of clarity over complexity, you go to an amateur training group and they are running some advanced stuff. They got a triple, a quad, they got distance, etc. I mean, it's a big test. If your dog isn't ready for that, you don't have to run it the same way they do. Break it down, run singles, shorten the distance, etc. Simplify, teach the dog. Don't try and be like everybody else and fail miserably and be embarrassed. You need to have a training group that understands that, hey, you may not run that the same way they do, that you want to simplify and you want to teach the dog more than test the dog. Realistic test prep. Most amateur training doesn't look anything like a hunt test. Same field, same setup, same routine. Then test day comes, new place, new people, new pressure. If training never looks like a test, don't be surprised when the test looks unfamiliar to your dog. I'll give you an example. I see new people all the time, and I try and help them whenever I run into them. And I ran into a gentleman just about a month ago, And I just sat back and watched him run, training his dog out in the field. He had three wingers out in the field, and he was just launching simple little bumpers out of wingers. Wingers were wide open, no big deal, right? It was very, very simple. He was just trying to teach a few things, but it looks nothing like what he would run in a junior or a senior hunt test. Brand new to the retriever world, and I'm helping him through the process. And maybe we'll get him on the channel, and he can talk about his training routine and his training so far and what he's learned. But what I told him is that, okay, that's great if you want to simplify things, but you probably need to hide those wingers a little bit, at least one. And you need to have better equipment. So I let him borrow one of my holding blinds. And so he could use a holding blind to wrap around one of those wingers. That's you're gonna find, and that's what it looks like at a hunt test. So the dog is exposed to that, so they don't get spooked when they try to run out to get a mark, and there's this guy sitting behind this holding blind that they don't know is there. So you need to train that way as well. Another thing is a lot of clubs and hunt tests now are using the propane boom guns. Try and incorporate that in your training, especially in group training. Sometimes we shoot a pistol, sometimes we don't shoot anything. We'll just blow a duck call if a dog gets too excited and we need to kind of calm the situation down. But again, they blow duck calls out in the field on marks. They shoot boom guns. They hide behind holding blinds. And more importantly, you should probably either make or buy a couple of holding blinds. I have probably 4 or 5 on my truck all the time. And I like to have at least 1 or 2 on the line when I'm training, and then a couple of them out in the field. That way my dogs get used to coming in and out of holding blinds when we're in training by ourselves or in a group. It's just a must, because that's what you're going to run into at a hunt test. And then we want to use holding blinds, wingers, hand throws, whatever, out in the field. But we're using the same equipment and the same look and feel as you would see at a hunt test. Training the handler. Amateurs spend a lot of time training the dog and almost no time training themselves. Handling decisions, timing, body position, a calm setup matter more than people realize. Many hunt test failures are handler errors, not dog errors. So some examples of training the handler. I'm going to use my own story to kind of guide you and give you some information. I started this hunt test game back in the early 90s. My wife and I got married in 1990. First thing we did is we bought a chocolate Labrador from a preacher about an hour away, and a couple $100. Great family dog. Lived a long life, and he was one of the more special dogs I've ever had. However, he was horrible at hunt tests. I barely got him to get through a junior hunt test. Could never get him to succeed at the senior level. So basically gave up on him, thinking, it was probably the dog, and I just gave up. And so I got a second dog, thinking, well, we'll try it again. Same thing happened. And unfortunately, that dog died very early, around 6 years old, because it had a lot of health problems, and it was suffering horribly, so we had to put her down early. So I got my third dog, and I reached out, and I said, all right, I need a better breed of dog. I need a more high-powered dog for field trials and hunt tests. And I had a friend of mine at the time, and we both picked a puppy out of this litter, out of Dust Devil line, and that dog was incredible. However, it was more dog than I could handle, and I didn't know how to train it. And it's like, I'm barely getting through juniors with this again, but this dog had such incredible drive that I said, all right, I need help. So I reached out and looked around for some professional retriever trainers, and there was only one nearby. The other ones lived several hours away, and that's not what I wanted. I didn't want to drop my dog off on a dog truck and not have the dog. I mean, my dogs are my family. I don't have children, I have dogs. So I reached out to professional retriever trainer Bill Totten. He said, sure, come on down, and he invited me. But Bill did something very interesting, and something I encourage all of you to reach out to local professionals and ask this question. I'm having trouble training my dog, but I want to train the dog. can you help me train my dog? Can you help me train? So Bill helped me, the trainer, and then I turned around and trained my dog. And I went down to Bill's house every single day in spring, summer, fall. When he was there, he wintered in California. And I stayed here because I'm working full time. And I would wake him up in the morning. I'd be there early, and I said, all right, let's go. I'm hungry. Let's get after this. I want to learn. And he helped me train the dog. So he helped me become a better dog trainer. Then I could turn around and train my dog. Got that dog an amateur field champion. Went to a national amateur championship in Minnesota. And I got a master hunter and an HRCH with that dog. And he was an incredible animal to watch run at hunt tests, but especially in the field trial game. And there's a lot of videos. In fact, some of the higher views I have on my channel are the first two videos I have of Dusty. And they're the very first two. And they might be on the top of the playlist there. But when he was running in California, when I went there for a couple of weeks to train during the winter, he's running 300 or 400 yard blinds and lining them. And it was just like, wow, at 2 years of age. So, I mean, it was a credible animal. But I needed help. And that's where I found help, because at the time, in the early 90s, there was no internet. There were a few books and a few VHS tapes around, but that was about it. So I learned a lot from Bill Totten, and I want to thank him immensely. So if you're trying to find help, that's one place I would look for help. Another place is what you're doing right here on this channel. You're reaching out online on YouTube, and you're trying to find more information, and I hope to pass more information along to you in upcoming weeks on clarity, test preparation, a lot of topics to cover here along the way. The other things I would look for are online programs, and a lot of these online programs have open windows. They're not open all the time, and sometimes you miss it and you can't get in. One of those, which I'm a part of, and I love learning. Even at this stage, I've got 30 plus years experience, but I still continue to seek out information. I still continue to want to learn. I still want to be a student of the game. And I'm involved with Pat Burns and his Elite Retriever Revolution. And I love that to death. He's got great weekly videos. Can't recommend that more than it's highly recommended. It's fantastic to be involved with that. It's a little pricey, but again, that's one avenue. There's a lot of others online that you can get involved with if you can afford it. But again, I'm basically giving you free content here, so it's not really costing you anything, but just a little bit of your time. So again, reach out to me if you want some advice on where to go to help you find more information. I'd be more than welcome to do that. Just leave comments down in the description below. And again, I'm going to post a lot of different links and look for some of those additional links up above. Time for a reset. If you're an amateur handler, here's the reset that changes everything. Train control before distance. Train clarity before complexity. Train the handler as much as the dog. When amateurs focus on the right things, results improve fast. There's a lot of great content on this channel, focusing on control, focusing on training, focusing on clarity, focusing on training you and the dog. A lot of great videos. Please cruise around the channel. Look at the different videos. Spend a little time watching them. There's videos on training. There's videos on equipment. There's a lot of great content here, and it's, again, absolutely 100% free. So take advantage of it. So personal authority. I learned this the hard way. I trained hard for years and still failed tests in my early years until I realized I was focusing on the wrong things. The light bulb went off in my head. So that shift changed everything for me. This channel is about retriever training for real people, amateurs with jobs, families, and one dog at a time. If that sounds like you, subscribe. I post practical amateur first training advice every week. Train like an amateur, but think like a pro.